65th running of the total 24 hours of Spa is round 4 of the Blancpain Endurance Series. Welcome to a sunny Belgium. It hasn't been like this all day necessarily. It was pretty wet this morning. We had a very wet Formula 3 race, for example. Track temperature now, though, 39.9 degrees. It's a pretty humid day, but the sun has burst through. The track is dry. There's a light breeze. There's a big crowd on hand as well to watch the blue-ribboned GT event. And for 65 years, the Spa 24 Hours has been delivering great racing. It began for touring cars, effectively, now very much for GT cars. And a 65-strong entry is going to be getting underway very shortly indeed. Well, always a highlight of the Spa 24 Hours weekend is not just the race, but it is pretty much a week-long event that begins on the Wednesday with the parade into town. The cars leave the circuit, they make their way in convoy around the circuit itself and then down the roads into Francorchamps itself. It's a chance for the spectators to get up close and personal to the cars, and when they arrive in Francorchamps town, then there's the opportunity for the fans to have a look even closer at the cars and to get some autographs as well. It's a chance to have McLarens, Nissans, Porsches, for example, all on the road. If they look a little bit incongruous as they thread their way around the streets around the circuit, well, it is certainly something that the fans love, and it's also part of the appeal of the event. And when not just cars from this championship, but the support races as well roll into town, there's always an enormous gathering. The fans, many aficionados of the sport, many quizzical to find out what all the commotion is about, and go and get posters and stickers and collect autographs. There are interviews with the drivers done as well. And all of this, of course, putting a big smile on the face of the championship promoter, Stefan Rattel. Marc VDS Racing, one of the Belgian teams keen for success. Pro Speed as well, the local Porsche team, also with an opportunity to score victory. And then it's chance for all the drivers to go to a very busy drivers' briefing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 65th edition of the Total 24 Hours of Spa.
The drivers' briefing is a little bit like a football stadium in a sense. It's so full. Then all the drivers gather outside for the customary photograph, and then they have to drive back again, and then the teams have to go to work and get the cars ready for free practice that kicks off Thursday. At the end of the day, there is qualifying and then night qualifying, and on Friday there is Superpole. Many of them are worn out even before they get to the race itself. And as the grid now starts to form, of course down there we have the leading drivers, and we had a chance earlier in the week to catch up with some of the drivers. Audi, as ever, is a brand to beat in the total 24 Hours of Spa. Winners for the last 2 years, and Laurens Vanthoor will start 20th on the grid.
This race is the biggest GT3 race in the world at the moment. It's true that the last couple of years the Audi R8 won a lot of 24-hour races, including 2 times this one. But this year we are struggling a bit. I think we don't have the performance of the car in our favor due to some restrictions. So it will be a hard job, but it's a Belgian race with a Belgian team, the Belgian Audi Club supporting us. Winning this race would mean a lot to me and to the team.
Every year we expect great things out of Marc VDS Racing, with Maxime Martin behind the wheel of the BMW Z4. This could be the year in which they win.
We are a really good team, a really good car, really good teammates. So I think we really have the chance to win and to do good results. Now we know that 24 hours is really long. You need to have a bit luck. You need to have constant pace. You need to have a lot of things to win. Every brand wants to win, and everybody is pushing. It will be difficult for sure, but yeah, I think we have a good chance to be there.
You expect the Nissans to be competitive, but the JRM cars really struggled in qualifying. Lucas Law will start 49th on the grid.
24 hours is not about a quick lap time, it's about having a good, quick, constant car for throughout the race. It's a fun track, it's a good length, you have all kinds of corner combinations, and we drivers, we like that. I think everybody who is going to watch it, they will have an exciting and very eventful race.
Peter Cox has won the race outright in the past. This year, he's after honours in the Pro-Am category, driving the Blancpain Racing Lamborghini.
For sure, a 24-hour race is always tough, and the Spa-Francorchamps circuit is demanding. And like a 24-hour, it's always demanding on the equipment, the material, the drivers, the team. For everybody, even for the organisation, the people from TV, for everybody, I think it's a very long and hard race.
Championship leader David Rigon knows he needs points out of this race. An outright win may not be possible, but he needs a good points haul at the end of 24 hours.
will be fantastic to win this race for me, for my teammate, for the team Kessel. So let's hope and support us.
The Senna name is on the grid for the total 24 hours of Spa. Bruno Senna, who turned his back on Formula One, drives for the Von Ryan racing team aboard a McLaren, and he really wants to win.
24-hour race is a whole different world of the Formula One racing. It's very long. You don't really understand the race until the later hours of the race, and you have to really push very hard to try and make sure you finish it. The aim is to really just get into the car, get into the track, and make sure I learn as much as possible. But you know, we are working. Everybody is racing for a win, and it would be awesome to be at least in the podium in this race. It would be amazing.
There's more Belgian support for Bertrand Baguette as well. He's a local driver. He's got one of the 2012 spec Aston Martins, and he too is keen for a good result.
For me, it's very important because I live 20 minutes from here. Still, I'm young. I come here every day, every week, so I know this track like my pocket. No, it's very important for me. I have a lot of fans here, a lot of supporters, so I really want to get this race on my CV right after Le Mans. It would be incredible.
And in the 50th year of the Porsche 911, can the Belgian Pro Speed team bring its Porsche home victorious? They have an early stop-go penalty to serve, but they have a quick driver in Marco Holzer.
It's a real big race for us, for the team. It's for sure with the Belgian fans what we have around here, and all the guys are coming from Pro Speed, and it's a big show for us, and we want to give them a good show.
And that stop-go penalty that has to be served between the ends of lap number 1 to lap number 4 is because of an engine change, and because you change the engine after the event has started, that gives you this stop-go penalty. Well, back in 2010, where we had a Porsche victory, the Spa 24 Hours was the predecessor of Blancpain, and Stefan Rattel is here to talk about it.
Stefan Rattel, this is your event, a fabulous grid, a beautiful day. What are you hoping for?
I'm hoping for a great race. I think we have all the ingredients together for a fantastic edition. I think the best in the history of the event. Never in history the total 24 hours has had such a grid in number, in quality, in diversity, and in number of cars that can really win.
Looks to me like this is a battle of the German manufacturers to some extent. Do you think so?
I think Aston Martin has a chance. I think Ferraris, you have some Ferraris very well driven, which have a chance as well. The Nissan has been disappointing in qualifying, but has definitely the driver lineup to make it. So it's going to be very open, and I think it's going to be exciting.
Let's have a look at certainly some of the brands, some of the cars to keep an eye to. On the left as you look is the pole position, Aston Martin. Stefan Mucker to start, and alongside is going to be Alessandro Piaguini. And as the marshals duck out of the way, the second row of the grid, you've got Max Goetz and Nick Katzberg in the BMW. Then is Nick Tandy starting in the Porsche, Matt Griffin alongside him. The yellow and white Aston is that of Bertrand Baguette. Maxime Martin is alongside. The lemon and lime Manthey Porsche, Mark Lieb goes first. Alvaro Parent for Hexis is alongside. Then Alexander Frolov, and in the Ferrari, Marco Ciocci. The number 25 BMW, started by Ludovic Badet. Thomas Jaeger in the Mercedes. Then Alex Buncombe, quickest in the warm-up. Raffaele Giammaria in the Ferrari. Peter Cox, previous winner in the Lamborghini. Frank Kekler for Vita 4-1. Then the Porsche of Franck Pereira, and the Audi number 1, René Rast, last year's winner, will go first. A fabulous grid, I'm sure you'll agree, with these 9 different brands represented, and people have been making the point from the grid, some of the best drivers in the world. The cars then come out of La Source. 65 GT3 cars about to be unleashed then. The pace car as it is peels into the pit lane. The pace quickens. The cars then with the lights on red make their way slowly up towards the line. We hit 4:30. The lights go green. The pace quickens. Everybody blasts away. It's going to be Stefan Mucker who tries to get the lead, but right alongside him is Piaguini, who gets his nose in front on the outside line. Stefan Mucker on the inside. Piaguini spins at the very first corner. One of the VDS BMWs goes off in avoidance. There are cars everywhere, and on cold tyres, Alessandro Piaguini could very nearly have caused mayhem.
That was the very question I asked him on the grid. Are you going to go side by side through the corner with Stefan Mucker? And what happens? He gets on the outside of the corner, and around she goes. How that was an avoidance, amazing.
Well, they've all survived just about as they got towards the con. Some will have lost track position because of that, but the key thing is they're still going, and Alessandro Piaguini really should have known better.
Look, you're in a race, lights go out, side by side, you think you've got the advantage. If you can hold the outside in the first part of Eau Rouge up to Radio, you'll be on the inside as you come onto the Kemmel Straight, and you can gain that position. But 24 hours, not 24 milliseconds.
And he could very nearly have wiped out others. So it's a shuffled order. The cars turning their way through Bruxelles for the first time. Already some of the back markers just dropping away. But look at this as they turn their way downhill out of the so-called Speaker's Corner. The leaders are going through Pour. And don't forget that not only has Piaguini had a spin, he's also got to serve a drive-through, because yesterday in the Super Pole he was out after his allotted time. So he's already got a self-imposed penalty from today as well as one from yesterday.
Well, he's had 2 of the lemons in the space of 24 hours. Hopefully he will not have a further one, but maybe this will allow Pierluigi to slow down. Just in fact, somebody just going slightly wide coming through the S's. But it is always a difficult moment with a field of 66 cars trying to get through and not literally bump or bang into one another.
Looking back to the number 35 Nissan there, that's the car that's being started by Lucas Ordonez as the field turns its way then for the first time towards the bus stop, heading up towards the end of lap number 1. Battles rage on right the way through the field as this multi-million euro grid goes through, and a spin already for the number 9 McLaren, and that is the car being started by Mike Wainwright, the man that foots the bill, the gentleman racer.
It doesn't look like it's going an awful lot further either. That car looks like it's come to a stall, and we have to wait and see.
Into the pit lane comes Nick Tandy, so the 911, because it's number 911, comes down the pit lane to serve this 1 minute stop-go penalty. Well, the good thing is he'll get that out of the way, and significantly by doing it now, of course, John, he will remain on the lead lap.
Yes, indeed. You get it out of the way, get back into the race. He'll probably rejoin the race pretty more, not quite at the tail of the field, I suspect, but get it served, get it over and done with, settle down and let this race then take its course.
Now, Stefan Mucker leads. Nick Katzberg, after amazing avoidance, runs second. Third is Alvaro Parent. Fourth is Maxime Martin. Fifth is Max Goetz. And then in sixth place is number 73, which is Alex Frolov in another of the SMP Racing Ferraris that also has to serve a drive-through. And after his spin, where is Piaguini? He's down in 15th place, and you can spot him because he's the man with a really red face now.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, drop from second to 15th is a miracle. That's almost a result in itself.
You can almost imagine the shouts in race control as the race director saw what was going on and thought, oh, blimey, look at this. But they've all survived as the field powers up the Kennel Straight there. Look, going to the inside line, the Pro Speed 75 Porsche with Maxime Soulet, Belgian driver, at the wheel of it. And I just get the feeling that the Porsches are worth watching in this race, that many of those works drivers, not just here for the good of their health. And lower down the order, look, number 5, the McLaren in the hands of Greg Gilbert tries to gain ground. Everywhere you look, there's a gaggle of cars all squabbling for track position. Going to replay of the start. Well, we know what the outcome is, but John, talk us through this.
Well, as I said, side by side into turn 1, what are you going to do, Pierluigi? And he just said, no problem. Then all of a sudden, he's on the outside of the corner. It's dirtier there. We've had other races here. Spins across the front of the field. Fortunately, everybody had the chance to realise there was an incident. They got one side, one the other side. Some had to go off track and the left, on the right. But everybody pretty much got through unscathed. And a deep breath for the Ferrari.
And all the way down the order, you've got cars that you might think should be doing better than they are, but it's just such a strong entry as well. That's what is making it difficult. Marcus Winkelhock in the red and white Audi number 16 at the head of that little gaggle goes through. Also in there, number 12, Gregoire de Moustier, and already René Rast in the number 1 Audi being warned about respecting the track limits. Have a look at this, because now you've got the ART McLaren coming powering uphill under real pressure. The Von Ryan car, Bruno Senna at the wheel, just strolls on by.
Yeah, and Bruno Senna, first time in a McLaren MP412C, and said before this event what a great honour it was to drive for a McLaren or in a McLaren team. And Davy Ryan, of course, who owns and runs this team, very much a part of McLaren for decades. Now runs his own private MP412C in the Blancpain Championship, and Bruno Senna drafted in and getting his first flavour of a car that, of course, is, well, what can you say about his uncle?
And look at this, coming out of the bus stop now. Alvaro Parent third, and Max Goetz gets ahead of him. He's on the outside line for La Source. Can the Mercedes move across and squeeze the McLaren? We go on board with Maxime Martin as they head down to the hairpin, but Parent on the inside line gets back ahead once again, and Max Goetz really hustling on in the Mercedes. Now 4 of them have all concertinaed up, coming out of the corner. On the back of that little group is Matt Griffin, and they're also, John, coming up on traffic.
Indeed, coming down to Eau Rouge, Alvaro Parent gets through, Maximilian Goetz gets through. Everybody else a little bit more cautious.
Oh, and that is a big off for the Nissan. 32 is in the wall with some force. And that is the car with Alex Buncombe at the wheel of it. And that's at the top of Eau Rouge.
That is
a big impact. And that's out. It's ripped a wheel off the car.
And that's going to probably see the first safety car intervention, because it's at a hazardous part of the racetrack. Alex Buncombe is out of the car. We don't know what caused that, but that's a big impact into the tower wall. That's probably the most critical and maybe the quickest part of the, just after the apex. And Alex Buncombe has been winded. You can see him just walking away now. Suddenly affects the adrenaline that he got a massive jolt of. He knows that that was a heavy impact and wants to get to safety behind the tyre barrier. Let's look at it. Comes down all on his own. Well, the back end just suddenly...
Oh, wheels come off. Wheels come off. Have a look. Wow. The left rear wheel had come down. Here we go.
Let's look again.
Have a look as it spins, and you'll see a wheel. As the car spins around, the wheel is going underneath the car. Here it goes. It spins now. And look at that rear wheel. It's folding under the car.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Well, good look. That's well done.
A nut's come off as well, I'm pretty sure, as it started the spin, a loose wheel, and as the car spins around, so it drags it underneath.
Very unusual. And Katzberg looks to go down the inside, backs out of it, but he's getting closer and getting good drive off that source. Can put him into a position through Eau Rouge to then have a challenge up Camel Straight up into Lake Cum.
And while they're squabbling like this, Maxime Martin, who is up into third, he's not that far adrift. That gap is coming down as well, second to third, so it won't be long, I think, before we've got the three leaders together.
Good run off Eau Rouge from Nicky Katzberg. He ran wide on the exit at Radio, but he's probably going to get away with it. Comes out, gets alongside, but can he maintain that outside position when he gets on the brakes?
Here they come, up to Lake Cum, inside for the Aston, outside for the BMW, the Aston Martin. He's going to turn in ahead. Nick Katzberg tries to stay alongside him, but he's gone through. He's gone all over the curb because he got squeezed. He gets back on ahead of the Aston Martin that's got the momentum to go back ahead. Fantastic stuff. Stefan Mucker comes out ahead. They've delayed themselves and dropped back from Nick Tandy, but Katzberger's not done yet as he tries the inside line at Bruxelles. And once again, Mucker closes the door, then he goes wide. BMW tries to shove its nose up the inside, and once again, Nick Katzberg is not so much hung out to dry, but he's certainly on the wrong line going into the next left-hander. You've got to be really good at this to get past Stefan Mucker, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, he did it all right coming through Eau Rouge, got the run through the corner, up over Radio, was quicker, got alongside the Aston on the straight, but couldn't make it stick. Mucker on the inside. Katzberg tries to go the long way around, ran out of road, ran off the racetrack, had to concede regardless whether he did or not. At this point, he had to let the Aston get ahead because he was off the racetrack. Stefan Mucker knows that, just drives around the outside. And this is going to be really just a battle between the Aston Martin team and Mark VDS BMW, and it looks to me like the BMW team is probably going to win this one, and there might be a positional change in the pit lane. It is the BMW have got it done, so they've taken that position away. There's the Aston Martin, and this is a slow stop indeed, when this is going to cost them positions. Very disappointing for Aston.
Yeah, it's a slow stop, isn't it? As you say, a long stop. Look at this. Tandy trying to lap the Ferrari. Katzberg trying to lap Nick Tandy. Up to the bus stop they come. And the only way this is going to end well, I think, is for one of them to make a pit stop. And it's not Nick Tandy. It is Nick Katzberg.
Oh, Katzberg, yes.
Katzberg in. So the leader.
And Peretta following in.
And everybody else behind. In has come Ludovic Bade, I think I'm right in saying. Yep, he has. And also in Frank Kettler. So that jumbles your order a bit more, doesn't it?
Going to make it interesting because again it's going to be a battle of the teams in the pit lane. We saw that BMW, the Mark VDS team, did a great job to cycle Maxime Martin and get him out ahead of the Aston. They had a difficult slow pit stop, so a driver change taking place. Maxime Martin out of the car, Nicky Katzberg I should say, out of the car.
Now look at the Porsche coming down towards us. Mark Lieb brought in the Manthey Porsche, and that is very close to pit out. So you get back into the car, you've got a downhill start. He's got ahead of Alvaro Perez. Look, the Hexis McLaren's away pretty slowly.
So the Porsche have done a good job. And second of the BMWs as well.
That's put Lieb ahead of Katzberg, look, because there's number 4, which has fallen back behind the Manthey Porsche. So the race leader on that pit stop, Nick Katzberg, brought it in. He's lost out. And remember Stefan Mucker, 18th. But another car off, and is that Peter Cox's Lamborghini? It is 24, I think. It's Jos Menton that's taken the car over.
Over at Radio again, top of Eau Rouge.
Big impact.
And that's going to be another safety car intervention. We didn't see what caused that one, but certainly, again, if you don't hit it on the left-hand side just after the apex, you'll lose it and you'll go straight out to the right and into that tyre barrier.
Safety car. It's the second safety car. It's another accident. It's number 24, and it's Jos Menton, a previous winner of the event, who has gone off the road. And I would also suggest not only safety car, but another retirement.
That looks like a retirement. And again, you can see just to the flag, just to the right of the flag, the marks on the racetrack. And that car's had a heavy impact. It's been a high speed off, and of course although it's tarmac, the reality is it doesn't actually slow the car down hugely. Usually gets very dusty when it's not a part of the actual racetrack, and the car just skids pretty much at speed into the tire barrier. We don't know the circumstances. Maybe let's look and see what happens.
Hits the curb.
Just loses it pretty much on his own behind two other cars, but it's the impact which takes him from left, right into the tire barrier. Tire barrier does a good job, but nonetheless, it's a heavy impact.
And that is almost a carbon copy of Edward Sandstrom's demise from the race last year. In the early hours of Sunday morning, he did that. He hit the curb going through that part, which unsettled the car, and the only outcome was he was going to hit those tyres, and that put him out of the race, and I think we've just witnessed another retirement. I still think, I know we didn't really talk about predicting a winner, John, before the race, but I still think the 150 Manthey Porsche is a potential winning car, and it's now running second overall and leading the Pro Cup.
Well, I mean, as I mentioned to Stefan Rotell when we had that interview on the grid, I said this is really a race of the four major German manufacturers, and of course there are other manufacturers in this race as well, but the level of driving that are in the Mercedes, the BMW, the Audis and the Porsches, really outstanding quality drivers are coming up into the Blancpain. Nearly overrunning into the back of the Porsche and having to drive around the McLaren. Well, not really managing to do it, but part of the frustration for the BMW as it accelerates. And again, look at the pace of the McLaren just off the corner, slightly better positioned. Now you've got to make a brave manoeuvre down the inside. On the inside line, you can get alongside, and the pass is a nice, clean pass. But it's part of the give and take, and I mean, it would be great to see a Ferrari or the Aston or any of the other manufacturers, even the Nissan, that had terrible issues in the early part of the race. As this race progresses, that we see other manufacturers outside of those four German giants have some role in the outcome of this race.
Everywhere you look, there's just gaggles of cars all batting together. Ricard Leitz is under attack, isn't he? Because now he's got Maxime Martin on one side, he's got Marcus Paltler on the other. And which of the BMWs is going to find a way past? One or both? They're both going to have a go at Ricard Leitz, and they both go through. Martin goes ahead, Paltler goes ahead. There's traffic in there as well. Look, you've got the Flexibox Ferrari, and so Ricard Leitz loses 2 places, and that means that now second overall is Martin, third overall is Paltler. But more significantly, perhaps, this now has shuffled the top 3 within the Pro Cup. And look in the background, Stefan Mucker is on a mission.
Absolutely, he's caught back up to this group of cars. He lost that time in the pit stops, but due to the safety car intervention, that's put him back into contention. And that Aston Martin has got a lot of performance, and we expect to see it in these next few laps.
The fight for second place continues then, nose to tail right. Here comes Patrick Pilet up the inside. He's got the best line for Lecombe. This should give the Porsche second place. He's on the inside line, but Henri Moser stands his ground on the outside. Is he going to lose the place? He does. Up the inside comes Pilet. Good move.
Yeah, but Moser opened the door and said, look, here's the road. Take the middle of the racetrack. What is he doing opening the door in that way? He got past the Nissan. He should have stayed in the middle of the racetrack and forced Pilet to go the long way around coming down Kendall Straight. We saw how Moser made it very easy for Pilet some laps ago, and again the Porsche goes to the left of the racetrack trying to find a gap which currently is being occupied by a fellow Porsche. One moves over so the Porsches gain something. So Porsche on the outside, BMW on the inside, and yes, sweeps through and takes the lead.
Good move by Pilet, 4 abreast going up to Lecombe, the leaders and the back markers. And so now we have a Porsche up front because Patrick Pilet leads the total 24 hours of Spa, but back onto his tail. Jelmer Berman wants that place. Also running with them, Xavier Marsan there in 40th position, 3 laps down. And as they turn their way now through Bruxelles, we've got Pilet ahead of Berman, ahead of Moser. The 3 of them running together as they head off downhill. Now, can the Porsche break away? Now, you don't have to watch what's going on the circuit. You can, if you so desire, go, and this is near Eau Rouge, down to many of the places to get something to eat and drink. There's the fun fair down there, there are shops, there's the concert that's going to be getting underway a little bit later on. So the event, underline the word event, not just race, geared up for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, the whole concept of 24-hour races, be it in Europe and North America, wherever, is about entertainment, and the fans come here, and you don't have to sit and watch for 24 hours. You can dip in and out as your fancy takes you. And I mean, I always thought this was part of the race that, when I visited a 24-hour race way back in the early 60s, was the most magical thing I'd ever seen in my life. Because to see cars racing with the light as it is right now, it's not fully dark yet, but it's not light enough you have to run with your lights on, and it is magical. There's no question about it. GT racing right now is very healthy indeed. Other forms of sports car racing are sort of ebbing and flowing, and I think if you can find yourself into a strong team that's well financed and has got a manufacturing problem there.
That's the Beech Dean Aston.
Yeah, right or left front. Was it a wishbone or was it a... So it looks like a wheel's locked.
Yeah, but it's also low, isn't it, on that corner?
That
Johnny
like
Adam behind the wheel.
That might be a suspension rather than a wheel tyre.
Well, down the pit lane it comes, but this was the car on pole position, don't forget. And within the Pro-Am Cup, one with a good chance of a decent result. Now, I'm afraid it's going to lose some time on this pit stop. This is another one for Jack to go and investigate, isn't it?
One tyre there. Let's have a look and see if we can catch what the problem is. There's the car coming very slowly. You can see sparks. There's bodywork also came off the car. I mean, the wheel wasn't rotating. Now, whether that's because it was locked when he had trying to slow the car down, or whether the wheel itself is locked, but goodness me, there you can see it. Loads. I think there's something. I'm not. I think that's more than just a flat tyre.
Yeah.
It isn't even. Well, they put a tyre on. Was it?
It was the old one, isn't it?
I suspect that there's a mechanical. You can see the bodywork has also been damaged as the car was being dragged.
Now Jack has got more news. Jack, all yours.
Basically, there was a tyre failure, they think, or rather a tyre explosion from where a piece of carbon fibre or something had almost split straight into the tyre. When you look at the tyre, it's not deflated in the normal puncture way and delaminated all the way around. It's kind of, there's just one slice through it. The rest of the tyre is fully intact. It's very bizarre. So Johnny Adam was at the wheel, and he said he was just coming into the braking zone and had to stop.
OK, Jack, for the moment, thanks very much. We're looking at Marco Holzer, who has stopped out on the track. He was in 28th place, but this is a pro-speed Porsche, and it's a significant Porsche that is off the road, and he's a long way off the road down at Stavelot. And so I'm afraid to say that looks like the end for the 911. And Pro Speed, again, the Belgian team, which came into the race with high hopes, has had trouble for 75, continuing troubles for 911, and that is a big, big shame. 6 laps down is the Gentleman Trophy leading Ferrari with Patrice Goëllard at the wheel, and one of these sets of headlights is it, coming into Les Combes. There it is, number 20, run by the Sofrev team, Jérôme Policon's team, and Patrice Goëllard, along with the Jean-Luc, Beaubelic and Blanchiment, and also for that car for this race, another man that's a double winner, Fred Bouvy. He was in fact the man that used to win in the Peugeot 306 days we talked about earlier on, now behind the wheel of a Ferrari for the weekend, and it's leading the Gentleman Trophy. So Sofrev have taken over the class lead against Sport Garage after Stéphane Lebre was leading a little while ago. We are aware of a number of retirements. I think we've lost now 7 cars officially from the race. These days the teams do have to officially declare the car a retirement, and 7 teams have done just that. There are others that are stranded out on the circuit, which I think will, in the fullness of time, go through the system and be officially declared as retirements. This stage of the race has been a little quieter than the original 3 hours, but still,
thanks goodness.
Well, yes, you say, but still we have this battle royal raging on between the 2 Mark VDS BMWs that survive and the Manthey Racing Porsche. But this dark horse looming over them is the HTP Mercedes, in the hands at the moment of Bernd Schneider, running in 4th, and Frank Kekler is in 5th place in the Vita 4.1 BMW. He's a lap back, but that's perhaps not the end of the world for that car, and if that can stay there or thereabouts, that could also come good near the end. As far as the championship is concerned, after 6 hours with those half points awarded, it's still Ramos, Rigon and Zampieri ahead, but Boerman, Leinders and Martin a little bit closer. Edward Sandstrom is now 3rd, ahead of Mies and Stippler, with Dumbrek, Kane and Lure, the next team within the Pro Cup. Of course, some of the teams that are new to the championship for the weekend taking points away from the regulars, so that is something else that they have to be aware of, but that is how it looks at the moment in the championship at the head of the Pro Cup. Then you've got Darren Turner and Fred Makovici and Stefan Mucker, the head of Steph Dusseldorf, Alvaro Parent and Alexander Sims. But a bad day at the office for Stefan Ortelli, René Rast and Laurens Vanthoor. No points for them, but a good haul for Moser Paltela and for Nick Katzberg. And now, as we come to 6 minutes past 8 local time, the race order looks very different indeed. First of all, let's see who is where, then we'll catch up on what's happened during the night, because now with 366 laps done, Bernd Schneider, Maximilian Buch, Maximilian Goetz lead the way from Mark Lieb, Richard Lietz and Patrick Pilet, and the car that led the championship coming into this race in the Pro Cup, David Rigon, Cesar Ramos and Daniel Zampieri, now run 3rd. 4th, the Audi of Andre Lotterer, Christopher Mies and Frank Stippler, ahead of the surviving BMW now, Stefano Colombo, Greg Franchi and Frank Kekler. 6th, Harold Primat, Oliver Jarvis and Christopher Haase. And this is the Pro Cup you're looking at, not the overall order, because 7th overall is where you find now the leading Pro-Am car, and that is Ferrari number 70 being hustled along in the hands of Alexander Sryabin. But I'm afraid that within the Pro Cup we've lost quite a few of them, and significantly out are both of the remaining Mark VDS BMWs. We'd lost number 14 last night, number 3 has retired, a fire extinguisher failed, and in turn that damaged the electrics. That car is out, and number 4 BMW also out with electrical problems, possibly an alternator, the team thinks. Bas Linders has tweeted the fact that these aren't BMW parts and something has gone wrong. It's sad to say, what could have been the dream result for the Mark VDS team is no more. But we've got now 8 hours and 19 minutes of the race to go. 1 or 2 have not yet woken up to the drama, but the sun is shining. It has dawned a gorgeous day at Spa. However, there is the threat, as ever, of some rain within really the next hour or so.
What a shame those 2 BMWs looked so strong when we went off air last night at, 11 o'clock in the evening, and certainly the battle of the 4 German manufacturers now has come down to a battle really of 2, with Mercedes-Benz leading, and a great job from Bernd Schneider. That car now in 2nd place because of the overlaps and on the pit stops, the Mercedes being an early stopper in the first stint. And it's now Richard Lietz in the Porsche on number 150 that is back in the lead of this race.
So the Porsche, which has had the change of brake pads at 6:20 this morning, that cost it some time, but it's going very strongly. That is the 911 numbered Porsche 911 GT3R, which has recently had a puncture that goes back into the race. And 75 has also, for Pro Speed, had tyre dramas. This just a couple of minutes ago. This was the Henrici Marcin Soule car heading towards the pit lane. 13th the car had been dragged up to, and it had Xavier Marcin at the wheel of it. But that puncture obviously losing time, and the car dragged back into the pit lane. Hopefully not too much damage done as a consequence of that. Now there, 35, is Peter Pitzera. You're on board with him now. And this is the surviving Team RJN car. 13th overall and 5th in class. You're on board with Pitzera now as he drops downhill. The man that won the German Academy within the Nissan GT PlayStation Academy competition last year. 25 years of age, an industrial mechanic. And the way that he drives, and to be fair, this is true of all of the winning graduates of the PlayStation Academy, he belies his lack of experience.
Well, I think, I mean, I've been impressed, and I've been cynical as well, because I think you have kids that sit in front of TV screens playing, motor circuit games or whatever you call them, the GTM Academy. It's a very much more sophisticated product than simply how I've explained it. But it does illustrate, and we talked about it again last night, the correlation between that type of product and where teams' advanced development of race car simulators are now. So that what you're seeing Peter Pitzera and others do that have come through the academy is actually just a shop window for what potentially is the future for many young drivers. They will see this as being the first step, not going into karting, not having your dads that want to have their sort of heart on their sleeve through their son's performance or daughter's performance for that matter. But the GT Academy can offer an alternative route, and a lot less expensive one as well.
This is the lead battle at one of the most spectacular circuits the championship visits. Most circuits with hills are spectacular. There are plenty of hills at Spa. A sideways Porsche powers out of the bus stop, and now it's a drag race down to Les Sources. Up the outside goes Maximilian Buch. Is that going to give him the race lead? Well, yes, it does briefly, because he has his nose in front, but Patrick Pilet breaks even later on the inside. He turns into Les Sources ahead, and he hangs on to the race lead, but he goes wide. And now the Mercedes, with all of that grunt, comes up alongside as they plunge downhill once again. This is going to give us a new race leader. The Mercedes should go through, and does go through at the bottom of the hill.
Simply nothing more or less than the fresher rubber in the Mercedes, and Porsche really, you could see how much it struggled for grip as it came out of the bus stop chicane. It did manage to get its nose back in front as it went into the La Source hairpin, but fundamentally the tyre on the Porsche is at the end of its useful life, and the Mercedes has got fresher tyres, it's got more pace, it's got more weight on board with the fuel that they had to fill the car up with. But as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's better to have the grip and the weight than have no weight and no grip. Here we are on board with the Ferrari coming up to this stop-go, and he lets the other car get through there, in fact, under braking. the bus stop chicane, which sadly is the poorest corner on the circuit.
Nothing like the old bus stop, very much a chicane these days, rather than the left-right flick, then a small slip road, and then another right-left flick to get you out of the bus stop. That's how it used to be. Dennis Anderson, whoops, with a bit of correction needed, floors the throttle. That's pretty dramatic.
Where's the traction control then? Probably turned off.
This battle for 4th and 5th places has just changed, because you've now got Cesar Ramos ahead of Stefano Colombo. So what you're looking at is a reversal of places. Ferrari back ahead of BMW. It's changed on this lap. They're 4 laps adrift of the leaders. But interesting now, the Ferrari having taken the place, he's pulling away once more. This is how it happened, in fact, coming down towards La Source. BMW with rubber being spat out the back of it as it runs over some of the rubber that's been chunked to one side on the road. That's on the outside at La Source. Not a vast amount of defence put up there by Stefano Colombo.
No, and I mean, sometimes it's better to be sensible about it rather than fight, and he knew that the Ferrari had that pace off the bus stop chicane, had the momentum and acceleration, and he decided not to make a big issue of it. There's still, say, 6 hours or so remaining of this race, and the Ferrari just had the pace where it mattered.
We've now got a new leader in Pro-Am, 59 Ferrari, which is Alex Mortimer at the wheel, former British GT champion.
As we go back to Frank Eckerle in the BMW, this car in 4th place, but being caught by Andre Lotterer in the Audi, and that was the Audi that took some time out in the pit garage, but in the mirrors very shortly, well, there it is, there's the Audi of Andre Lotterer, just comes on to the Camel Straight proper itself. As the car now has got the BMW in its sights, and nothing better for a driver chasing than to see the gap close. Oh, and Keke was spin. Andre Lotterer's got it all wrong in Les Combes. I'm telling the world how good a job he's doing, and suddenly the back end on the entry into Les Combes rotates, and now he's stole the engine, and all that hard work and good work for nothing.
And Andre Lotterer doesn't do that very often.
Very rarely.
Yeah. It does just about get going again. Andre Lotterer back into the race, but put that one in your diary, because you won't see it happen too often.
To me, that's the shock of the race. Look at the car shuddering. What is wrong? Is something mechanical?
Is it something mechanical that's pitched him into the spin? Like
that's right.
A problem on the downshift
there's
or something with the
strange
electrics?
going on with the car.
Yeah.
And that was on the downshift, and suddenly the car looks like it's extremely problematic. That is a strange one.
But, oh, big off there, and that's the Ferrari from AF Corsa from Pro-Am, and that is 50, I think I'm right in saying, which did lead early on. Louis Machiel's at the wheel of it. That's gone off at Eau Rouge. It is number 50, and that is a huge impact at Eau Rouge. The car's well out of the way. I don't think there's any debris on the road. Let's look at it again. He comes into the corner. He's sideways coming into it.
Something happens coming down the right rear. Something went wrong, and that's where the car got out of control. And it's the nose that goes in heavily initially. So that's going to be a big impact indeed for the driver. Now, what it was on that right rear, we don't know, but you could suddenly see the car swerved as the back end lost grip completely, and then it was just simply a passenger. The tyre barrier doing a very good job, but concerns from the team as they look at the replay. Let's look at it again. The Ferrari comes down the old pit straight, start finish straight, just makes the turn, and even before he's committed to the apex, the car is out of shape and is rotating and just does a 360, and then the nose heavily into the tyre barrier, and well, that will have to be reconstructed. If it certainly, it looks like it's had a mighty bang. And
safety car.
Yeah, the safety car will be deployed.
That's good news. Louis Machiel's limping a bit.
I'm not surprised. Well, that was a big shunt, and again, that's the benefit of these tyre barriers and the tyre baling that holds them all together. They took a big old rattle. Hopefully they haven't been displaced too much, but safety car being deployed, and hasn't been deployed very much this weekend, and hasn't been out for quite a long time.
Richard Lietz has pitted on plan on lap 452.
Can this car get out without being delayed? That will be the ultimate factor as to who's going to win this race. So there is Bernd Schneider. So he's come past the Formula 1 pits down the hill. There is the Porsche waiting, and that's going to go a lap down. The looks of it.
Absolutely. It's going to lose a lap, and that
is all over.
Kind of answers the question now. Never mind the strategy. If you're a lap down, then that is bad news. It will get the lap back when the Mercedes pits, but that won't be for another 26, 27 laps time.
But they've now been released, but it's unfortunate for Richard Lietz, and in fact it's not just Pierre Pilet back in the car, that the opportunity to make the pit stop and the delay at the end of the pit lane while the chain of cars goes through there. Again, we see what happens. There's 2 safety car deployments per lap. And if one of those two safety car deployments is anywhere close to a pit lane exit, then you will be delayed until the crocodile has gone through. This is the Mercedes-Benz we're looking at. Maximilian Goetz in that car. And pretty much since the middle of the night, the Mercedes-Benz has taken control, albeit in a great battle with the Porsche 150, driven right now by Richard Leitz. But that car did have to suffer a penalty for overtaking, apparently under the safety car.
Indeed so, and the penalty applied because the overtake had come before the safety car line. Now here's the replay of it. Look top right, you'll see the Porsche. We were impressed by the move at the time. Look at the way that the Porsche swings through the traffic. Now look at the white line there. That is the safety car line, and you can't overtake until you get to that line. So even though the safety car had pulled off, you can't overtake until you get to the line, and that's why 150 got the drive-through penalty.
Well, I mean, that's the rules and regulations are for, and with television all around the racetracks these days, everything is noted in a way it certainly wouldn't have been years ago.
Now, also, in the last few hours, there's not just been that drive-through penalty that's affected the overall classification, but also there was quite a sizable accident that took out number 17 Ferrari and the 16 Audi, Enzo Ede at the wheel. Now look here, the Audi tries to move back, having lapped the Ferrari and take the line for the corner, and he completely misjudges it, charges the Ferrari off into the barrier, and that, sad to say, is the end of the Ferrari. Ian Dockrell was the man behind the wheel. Now as he goes down out of the pit path, have a look, the Audi is on the right-hand side, and Enzo Ede goes ahead, but he just seems to misjudge where the Ferrari was as he tried to cut across and take the line for the next corner. Both drivers okay, but John, that a big accident.
I mean, heavy damage to the front of the Audi. Enzo Ede gets out of the car. Ferrari also severe front end damage. I mean, and probably, to be honest, Enzo Ede did not need to move from right to left, because of the situation that he was in. He had control of the corner, and he was just being too ambitious and thinking that he was going to get the race line into what is now Campus Corner. Mistake on the part of Enzo Ede, and an expensive one for both the Audi and Ferrari team.
Out of Speaker's corner, up over the curves goes Kekela, but the Audi is right there and threatening.
Yes, it is, and looking to dive down the inside, be ambitious to do it down there, because the BMW is a high downforce car. It can afford to go deeper into the corner, but gets wide on the exit of Pujo, and now has been challenged side by side into Fan.
Kekela's on the inside line. Is Mies going to go around the outside? Yes, he is. Brave effort that on the outside line. He's ahead as he gets to the apex for the first part of the pit path. Through he goes, and so that puts the Audi now up into fourth, and rather disgruntled Vita 4-1 engineers look at a car that's down in fifth. There, I'm afraid to say, is a problem coming into the pits. That is Stefano Colombo, and it's ground to a halt, almost like it's run out of fuel at pit in.
And they're the team having to run down. It is an uphill incline as well.
Indeed, you can't really push a car down the pit lane, but for safety reasons, the team will be allowed to get that out of the way. So Stefano Colombo is into the pit lane, and you can see what a heavy car it is, because the marshals are wilting a bit now, and there's a lot of weight to heave around there. But why has the car ground to a halt? It looks as though it's something more serious than that.
There we see the third. Is this the third place?
Yes,
it is.
That's smoking. That car's got a problem. Look at the smoke coming out of the back of it. That's Cesar Ramos in third place down the pit lane, and it's a rather smoky Ferrari. The BMW look is being pushed to the team, but that's the car that was running fifth with Striver. Now this is the third place car. Is this the end, I wonder, because there's flame from the back. The extinguishers are quickly there. They had a pit lane fire at Paul Ricard, and now the car that was in third place comes into the pit lane with the engine, one fears, perhaps having let go. And is that the end of the Castle Racing Ferrari?
Well, there's certainly been a fire caused by liquids, most likely. That will be oil, whether it's transmission oil or engine oil, and what a disappointment. That car running competitively in third place, 5 laps down on the lead car, but 1 lap ahead of Andre Lotterer in the number 2 Audi, who will inherit that. There was a 1 lap gap. There is the car that will now go on and take, provisionally, the final podium position.
As the Audi fifth on the end of the previous lap, now fourth with the demise of the Ferrari. So, Jack, a lot's been happening in the pit lane in the last few minutes, hasn't it?
Michael Bartel's very pleasant to me, but he says that he doesn't know what the problem is. They're looking for the problem at the moment, and actually Colombo has just climbed out of the car. They're all shaking hands, so it looks to me as though this car may be out of the race, the kind of body language of the mechanics and driver.
And this is, all being well, the last pit stop for the Mercedes.
A brand new set of rubber going on for Bernd Schneider. That will be a nice little experience. And I'll take a little note of his first flying lap on these tyres.
Well, don't forget, he's got the best lap of the race already. I'm just thinking, can he go even quicker?
Absolutely, that's the very thought I had. He's got a 2:21.861, which he set on, lap 467. And we were on lap 540, so he was well in. It was probably in the best part of the 21st hour when he set that lap. So now we will leave the pit lane, and that's the long way down as we see the Porsche coming up through Eau Rouge, as Bernd Schneider was probably rounding and then making the trip down the European pit lane. Lights flashing on the Porsche as it makes its way past one of the Mercedes, and Patrick Pilet still pushing as hard as he can too. 24.6 was his last lap. A little bit maybe premature to be congratulating. It might be just a great pit stop. That's what they're doing. They're not congratulating themselves on a victory, but on a great pit stop.
And that's Fred Bouvi, who is still leading despite the drive-through penalty, the Gentleman Trophy. And it's a good job that the penalty wasn't more draconian, I think, for them. The total 24 hours of Spa of 2013 is won by HTP Motorsports, by Mercedes, by Maximilian Goetz, Maximilian Buch, and Bernd Schneider, who accelerates up towards the line. Mercedes wins the Spa 24 hours of 2013. Victory to Bernd Schneider, Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz. The door is opened. A delighted Bernd Schneider punches the air, waves to the mechanics to say thanks for all your efforts and to congratulate them as well as he heads down towards La Source. There's another checkered flag still to be waved. The ceremonial finish of the event you can't overtake until you get there. You have to stay in order, and the Maximilians straight away face the media in the pit lane. They'll go to the podium. We'll hear from them, I'm sure, with John Watson very shortly. John's made his way down there to be part of the victory celebrations, and very happy scenes. We've been so used for the last couple of years to seeing the Audi part of the pit lane, the real centre of attention. Not this year. Mercedes comes out on top. That is going to be a very important win for marketing purposes back home. And for Bernd Schneider, having won in Dubai in 24 hours earlier in the year, he's won the Nürburgring 24, the Bathurst 12 hours. He now adds the Spa 24-hour victory to that list as well. What a season for a man who's theoretically retired from racing. Here's the second place car. Well, sadly, in the last 3 or 4 hours of the race, the Manthey Porsche had to accept defeat against the Mercedes, but Marc Lieb, Patrick Pilet and Richard Lietz have given it their all. The car just not quite as quick as the Mercedes. Home it will come, second overall, second in the Pro Cup, and again, a superb effort from everybody connected to that team. Let's see what sort of reaction the AF Corsa Ferrari gets. A single finger in the air. P1 in Pro-Am for Tony Villander for AF Corsa, and big cheers as he comes across the timing line. Bernd Schneider bumps his head as he gets out from under the gull-wing door, stands on top of the Mercedes, and Bernd Schneider celebrates a second win in the Spa 24 hours. A delighted man. John Watson is down there to have a word with Bernd Schneider after winning the Spa 24 hours, John.
Bernd Schneider, you and the two Maxes have won Spa 24. How good is that?
Unbelievable. It was an amazing race. Such a hard battle, and we all were really exhausted after the long night. And no, it was amazing. The team made a fantastic job. The car was outstanding. The car was perfect. We could push and driving as hard as I could, and the car survived and we survived, and we are really happy.
Max, congratulations, fantastic effort. All three of you, flawless race.
It was brilliant. It was my first time here in Spa, and we won directly, so it's crazy also for Max. The first time he had to win in the first year, so it's unbelievable.
Well, there's two Maxis in this team, two youngsters. Maximilian Buch, congratulations. What does winning 24 hours, the total Spa 24-hour race, mean to you?
A lot. I cannot really say something about it now because it's so amazing. We didn't really expect that. We just came here to show a good performance from our side, and now we are first. Yeah, unbelievable.
Well, you two gentlemen and your senior driver, go and enjoy yourself and celebrate tonight.
Let's confirm how they came across the line. The provisional classification then is a win for HTP Motorsport. Bernd Schneider, Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz win the total 24 hours of Spa for 2013, ahead of Marc Lieb, Richard Lietz and Patrick Pilet. Third, Andre Lotterer, Christopher Mies and Frank Stippler. Fourth goes the way of Harold Primat, Oliver Jarvis and Christopher Hasse. In fifth place, it is the Ferrari of Tony Villander, Matt Griffin, Duncan Cameron and Alex Mortimer. The head of Mika Salo, Kira Ladij, Victor Shaita and Maurizio Mediani. 7th, Lucas Ordonez, Jan Mardenborough, Peter Pitzera and Wolfgang Reip. 8th, Klaus Hummel, Steve Jans, Adam Christodoulou and Thomas Jaeger. Good result for them. 9th behind them, Pro Speed Porsche. 10th was SMP Racing. And as you look lower down the order, a number of these cars among the walking wounded, but definitely a big cheer for 16th overall for the winners of the Gentleman Trophy. Fred Bouvy, Patrice Goélard, Jean-Luc Blanchemin and Jean-Luc Bobelic bring home the winning car ahead of Sport Garage 52, Kessel Racing 111. But in each case, Ferrari 458 Italias coming home successfully in the Gentleman Trophy. As the trophy is brought forward, and we also have the impressive Blancpain clock as well that is presented to Maximilian Buch, Maximilian Goetz and Ben Schneider as the winners of the 2013 Total 24 Hours of Spa. Pro-Am honours go the way of Matt Griffin, Duncan Cameron, Alex Mortimer and Tony Delander. Jerome Policon, a very happy team boss as Sofrev ASP wins the Gentleman Trophy in the Total 24 Hours of Spa. The champagne is sprayed, the Gentleman Trophy podium here is complete. And it has been another superb race in the Total 24 Hours of Spa's history. From all of us at Spa, we hope you've enjoyed the coverage. Join us at the Nürburgring for the final round of the championship. For now, it's time for a Belgian beer and goodbye.